Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James. Second. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Sorry about that, Cavs fans. Good evening. Sorry the technical difficulties. Tim and I on top of each other, trying to do things. We should have talked about that. Anyway,
we had a week off. We're getting back to the swing of things.
Yes, we were about as effective as the defense tonight in Cavs game. So,
yeah.
But no, thank you for joining the Block the Shot to Stop. For Tim Daniel, I am Kevin Lynch. Here to talk about yet another victory for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Tonight, they were in Denver and took care of the Nuggets in an absolute shootout, 149-135. So do you want to start with the defense, Tim? Or where
I guess that's the easiest thing to do, right? Because it's like a 10-second conversation.
Very little, like Jared Allen had like two awesome blocks, and I think the defense chapter closed.
Yeah, and then Evan Mobley had a couple moments. And Donovan Mitchell had some nice steals. Had a like long inbound pass that he stole. I mean, not inbound pass, sorry, but they tried to go full court and he got his hands on it, and it led to a Mobley dunk. And that was the defense in tonight's game in Denver. But yeah, we had a Cavalanche in old Denver, Colorado tonight.
We did, and the whole game was a Cavalanche.
Yes.
For those that maybe only caught part of the game, the Cavs scored 40 points in both the first and second quarter, which 40 points is usually the mark for you had an unbelievable offensive quarter. Like that's like a rarity. Right. I think you said these were the 10th and 11th 40-point quarters the Cavs have had this year, and the Cavs have been the best offense in the league. And then they really slowed down in the third quarter. They had 36 points and
struggling.
Yeah. And then only 33 in the fourth, where the game was, I wouldn't say it was decided, but it never got close. Like Denver cut it right to about 10-12 a couple of times, but didn't really get much closer than that. So, but yes, I mean, in all seriousness, we should talk about the offense. The big four tonight, this was as complete of a game as those four guys have all had phenomenal games at the same time. It seems like it's more two, maybe three of them. And I think I want to start with the guy who kind of sometimes hasn't had as much stats as the other three, and that's Jared Allen. I was telling somebody this during the third quarter. I'm like, Jared Allen has had as good of a game as Nikola Jokic, and it is absolutely impossible for the Denver Nuggets to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers if Jared Allen plays Jokic to a stalemate.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Jokic had a little bit. I mean, their stats are very similar except for assists. You know, Jokic is going to have more assists than any center he plays against. But you combine in, like, Jared Allen was the one pretty effective defender tonight, and how hard he made Jokic work. I mean, Jokic had a fairly, he had a good game, but it didn't feel as impactful as he usually is. And that kind of goes to Jared Allen. I thought of everyone tonight, he was the guy we should start with.
Yeah, I thought this was probably Jared Allen's best game of the season, in my personal opinion.
I was thinking the same thing, yeah.
And he might have had better statistical games. I don't know if he's had much better statistical games than this by any means, but he was tremendous again. Skylar's not here. We're still don't know if he's going to hop on just yet, but he was I'm going to borrow his favorite statistics. Then he was a plus 18, second on the team in plus minus tonight. 22 and 10 with 4 assists. Was really awesome. Was all over the place today. You mentioned, I mean, his assignment tonight was guarding Nikola Jokic, which is the most difficult assignment to be a defender on in the NBA. And he was really good. I mean, I know Jokic had another empty triple double, and which is, kind of his standard for how bad his team is. And I mean, but Jokic had 1 turnover, and that's pretty impressive. Allen's kind of went mano a mano with him, and you mentioned, if he's playing Nikola Jokic to a stalemate, the way that Allen and Mitchell played tonight, and we'll get to the whole lineup in general, but I don't think anyone can beat these guys when those two are playing the way they did tonight.
It would be extremely difficult. I agree with you. Like the only way someone could beat them is if they can be as effective as the Cavs are offensively when they're really humming. And there's only maybe 2 or 3 teams in the league that could really.
Yeah.
And the big thing, and Jared was a focal point of this, but the Cavs got anything they wanted at the rim. Like that's the one thing Jokic doesn't do. He doesn't protect the rim. Without Aaron Gordon, he's really the only guy that would protect the rim at all, and it's not really his forte either. They shot 65% on 2-pointers tonight, and I actually thought it was going to be higher. Before I did the math, and in the third quarter, they not like the Nuggets were so sick of them getting whatever they wanted at the rim, they just started fouling them every time. The Cavs were in the bonus 2.5 minutes into the third quarter because that was the only way the Cavs could keep them from getting labs or wide open threes. So yeah, I mean, we say this a lot, but like in reality, this was probably as good a game offensively as the Cavs have played this whole year, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this was probably really nice too for Jared Allen and Kenny Atkinson. I mentioned my joking manner of their revenge game against the Nets for when Kenny got fired and Jared Allen got benched. They got benched and fired for DeAndre Jordan, who was on the other side of the floor tonight. Right. And so I'm sure that felt pretty good. I'm sure they really liked that vibe. I'm joking. They don't really care about that at this point in their careers. But man, look at this Nuggets roster up and down. And it's amazing they scored 135 points because after Jokic, Murray, and Porter, yowza. I mean, Christian Brown's really good, but this team relies on DeAndre Jordan and Russell Westbrook to play big minutes.
Yeah.
Did they not learn anything from the 2022 Los Angeles Lakers? I mean, come on, guys. Let's be real here. But man, just like I'm like watching it, I'm like, okay, DeAndre Jordan's coming. I'm thinking, I'll be honest, I don't watch every Denver Nuggets game. I'm thinking it's like when we put Tristan Thompson in games. No, he plays big minutes. He's in there a lot.
Yeah, he's not a victory cigar.
No. It's not figure like, and I get Aaron Gordon's out, but oh my gosh, it's like, man, he's up there playing big time. And he's guarding Evan Mobley. And I'm like, okay, that's your option, Michael Malone? Sure. We have a comment here from Daniel Miller. It says, Nuggets just fired D coordinator Ryan Saunders. Which is really funny. I like that a lot. I do like Ryan Saunders, though. Poor guy. But yeah, man, just not very. I mean, this kind of points more to the greatness of Jokic. I've already been honest. I'm not a huge Jokic fan by any means. I do not deny his greatness. But man, the fact they scored 135 points with that roster because of him. I mean, this is like 2018 Cavaliers LeBron stuff.
Yeah.
Who should have got MVP, by the way.
It is. And I heard somebody say Jokic almost won a gold medal playing with a bunch of plumbers. That's how good he is. And he is. I still think he's one of the top 2 players in the league with Giannis. But like, even in the NBA, which is such a star-driven league, 1, even 2 stars can't beat a complete team like the Cavs have. And speaking of stars, I was going to pivot to Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell, because what I love about this team is how fluid the offense is, how they share the ball, all that kind of stuff. They don't do a your turn, my turn as far as going one-on-one, right, but they kind of did a your turn, my turn for being the focal point of the offense tonight. Like Mitchell had 25 in the first half and he was just dominant. Mobley only had 7. Then sure enough, Mobley comes out and I think he had like 19 in the second half and was everywhere, especially in the third quarter. So it's not the kind of hard to watch one-on-one offense that sometimes happens when you have multiple star players, all-star players, level players on your team, but they do kind of rotate being the focal point of the offense. And they did that tonight and with equal high level effectiveness.
Yeah, and you're also not even mentioning the fact that Darius Garland really wasn't one of the big focal points and had a really good game tonight still.
Yeah.
Wasn't a great three-point shooting night for him, but overall was a solid game. But yeah, man, you're absolutely right. So Mobley had 7 points of the 80 in the first half, and in the third quarter just took over the game. And not just driving to the rim and getting dunks and being in the dunker spot. I mean, was 4 of 6 from 3 tonight. By the way, 41% from 3 on the year for Evan Mobley.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and with the attempts starting to tick up too, it was as the percentage started getting better, the attempts were still low. He was still at like 1.5 a game, but now the attempts are ticking up and the percentage is staying consistent. So it's starting to become more real than a hot streak. So and he looks super confident shooting them, especially corner threes. I think corner threes are his forte, like a lot of guys in the NBA. And him adding that elements with his just athleticism, his improved ball handling. I saw something today where, as far as win shares, several other of the advanced stats, Evan Mobley is basically the second most effective power forward in the NBA, behind only Giannis. And like his rating, and it's a clear, like there's actually Giannis, big drop off to Mobley, and then a big drop off to like 3rd through 8th, where guys are clumped together. So like, I know that basketball is kind of a little bit more positionless, and you can argue, is like LeBron a power forward or small forward, is like, AD,
point guard.
Yeah. But as far as, if you're sticking to positions, he has been a top 2 power forward in the league this year. And that's at what, 22 years old, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the other things that was really impressive about him tonight, we talk all the time about the fact that he has no fear whatsoever going out and guarding perimeter players. He guarded the best rim potential, like downhill player, almost in league history, in Russell Westbrook in stretches tonight.
Yeah.
And I know it's not Oklahoma City MVP Russell Westbrook anymore, but still a guy that if he gets a step on you, is going to get past you. And Mobley was with him step for step, and that was extremely impressive. And I know Westbrook, like I said, I know Westbrook is not the Westbrook of old, but he's still very fast.
Yeah.
So to kind of see him kind of take that responsibility in stretches of the game. I know I made fun of Westbrook for playing a lot of minutes earlier, and I just think it's funny that a team in this late in his career is like, oh, we really love Russell Westbrook. You should not love Russell Westbrook right now. You should not. Ask the Clippers, ask the Lakers, ask the Wizards, go on and on and on. But that's not the point. As far as Mobley goes, yeah, like you said, so second best power forward right now. You can go to the positionless kind of conversation as well. But yeah, that uptick in threes, we had this big conversation, you and I, last week about with Isaac Okoro being out, where do they find the perimeter shooting from? Max Strus has come back. He hasn't quite found his stroke just yet. I'm not too concerned about that. Sam Merrill is starting to find his stroke. He had some really nice shots tonight, but we are kind of almost revisiting the conversation we had in the preseason about, well, if Evan Mobley finds a 3-point shot, watch out.
Right.
Evan Mobley's found his 3-point shot, Kev. It's watch out.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And while you're on that, the other guy who's found his 3-point shot or his offensive game as a whole is Dean Wade.
Yes.
Dean Wade, he missed the game Monday night, but otherwise now we're going on like 4 really good games in a row offensively. And as we said, Dean Wade always contributes in other ways defensively on the backboard. Is a little bit of a creator, secondary creator. But he is starting to find his offensive stroke tonight. He had 11 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, 3 for 4 shooting. Got to the free throw line a couple of times. Just looked good. Looked confidence was, again, like not only hitting shots. Obviously, hitting shots is a huge thing, but like being more confident and decisive with the ball in his hands. Like being willing to pump fake and put the ball on the floor. He had a couple beautiful assists for dunks for Allen, which contributed to Allen's big night.
Oh my God. That like across the court pass, he hit Mitchell for a 3, which we're by the way, we mentioned that we're going to have Mitchell in this segment. Mitchell had 28 in the first half. We're just now getting to the Donovan Mitchell conversation. That's how good this game went.
Yeah. And this game, this was a game, and I don't think it's a deterrent at all. This game was about the starters. We've talked so many times about the importance of the Cavs bench, and they weren't bad by any stretch tonight, but this was as good as the starters had played collectively in quite some time, if the whole season. It was really impressive. And when you have when you have an Evan Mobley who's red hot, when you have a Donovan Mitchell that's red hot, when you have Garland, as you said, Garland was a little off on the 3 night. He was 8 for 10 from 2-pointers. And and that's a testament to how good he is at breaking down defense and doing floaters. A little bit of testament to Denver having no rim protection whatsoever either.
Yeah, he about walked into the paint because Jamal
Yeah.
Murray is such an effective defender and all.
Yeah. Yeah. And just really, really great game. And great to see. It's so great to see this Cavs team play really well in different ways, right? Whether it's, a game you and I did maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago where Evan Mobley has his best game of his career offensively, 41 points and everything. We've had huge games out of Mitchell, Garland. We've had, big contributions from bench guys. We've had games where the bench has outscored the starters. That's happened 2 or 3 times this year.
Yeah.
And tonight it was their star players all showed out and had fantastic games, and the bench filled in the cracks. This was almost like a performance like you would hope to get in the playoffs, where rotations get a little shorter. You ask a little bit more of your star players. Like, this is the type of performance that if they get this kind of high level contribution of the starters, get the bench guys filling in the cracks, like that starts making you think about a real serious run this spring.
Dude, I was going to say the same exact thing. And a thing that's really beautiful about this is it's happening really at the right time as we turn the calendar year to get ready for 2025. And you're starting to see, I know the Celtics got a win tonight, but they hadn't been playing really well for about a week. They lost 3 in a row going into tonight when they got that big win against the Pacers. We all saw what the Knicks did Christmas Day in a really great game. But they're playing real hot right now. They're really, really good right now. Oh my gosh. And so the East is catching up to the Cavaliers, and the Cavs are still kind of holding on to this 3.5 game lead they have right now in the East. And, right now, that's all that really kind of matters. And I know we're going to get into this conversation in the next couple of weeks where, Skylar and I have talked a lot about like getting a big, making a trade. And I just don't know at this point who I would want to move on from in this roster. I think that I'm more comfortable going in the buyout market, and I'm starting to think Kobe Altman and crew will be as well.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong there. It's yes, you realize there are some things, especially depth pieces or little bit of, there are areas of the NBA game that this team is not perfect at, and you want to perfect that, but like, when you have such a good thing going, it's hard to disrupt it. Like, and I think it's more, trying to get one more really solid bench piece or something.
Exactly.
Particularly because some of the guys you rely on, Dean Wade, Karis LeVert, Max Strus have all already had injuries this year, have had, a little bit injury prone in their career. So if you got somebody that had maybe, somewhere in their skill sets, maybe was a little bit higher level defender, a little bit, could slide more into, a power forward position if needed. That's what you do. I don't like, this is not a team where you want to make a big move and throw off anything they're doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, for the record, before we talk about kind of dive into the Mitchell's game, the Cavaliers are already 20 wins away from their over-under. With 31 games in.
Pretty sure they're going to win the division too.
Yeah. That was a good one for you. That was a really nice wager.
That's a pretty safe bets. All right. I got a couple things about tonight and big picture I want to talk to you about. Let's start with tonight's game before we wrap that up and move on to other things. Fun stat tonight. Tim,
you have journalism.
The Cavs scored 116 points in the first 3 quarters. Where do you think that would rank as a full game average for an NBA team?
I'm going to say top 5.
It's 9th. It's 9th. They would be sandwiched between the New York Knicks and the Oklahoma City Thunder for 9th place, and in only 3 quarters of basketball tonight. That's how, just little stats that kind of
unbelievable.
Really stress how good they were offensively tonight. The other thing about tonight's game I want to talk to you about, it seems like we talked about how the rotation might change when Max comes back, and then we talked about how it might change when almost at the same time Okoro had his injury and everything. I think that's kind of shaping out a little bit, and it looks like clearly Strus and Levert are going to get the most minutes off the bench. They're going to get them up towards 20 to 25 minutes, depending on the game.
Yeah.
Niang's minutes seemed like they've been cut a little bit recently, which is a little surprising to me because he has been so phenomenal. But again, not to, they're playing so well, not in any way criticizing. I just was a little surprised when I was looking into it to see his minutes have been down the last 5-6 games. Sam Merrill's minutes have stayed consistent, and the minutes have come at the expense of Ty Jerome quite a bit. He only played seven minutes tonight. He was pretty short on minutes a couple of games recently, and Ty hasn't been as good as he was at the beginning of the season. He was playing out of his mind at the beginning of the season,
right?
But I think it's more of a math problem than anything he's doing wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's the NBA. We talk about this all the time. There's ebbs and flows, and individual players will go through it. I mean, Donovan Mitchell's had some games this year where you're kind of like, that wasn't Donovan Mitchell. And it just happens. So I'm not at the point where I'm worried about Ty Jerome. I'm okay with the fact that his minutes have kind of cut back while he's kind of going through this stuff. But if there's anything you can say about Kenny Atkinson and things we've noticed is that his trust level for his guys doesn't seem to wade at all. And so I really do believe that he kind of has seen this, look, this is just not your time right now. But I'm sure come these Golden State and LA games here in a couple of days, he's going to count on him at some point to get some big minutes one of those games.
Yeah, they have a lot of games, a lot of travel coming up, a lot of games in a short time. He's going to get his minutes. And Kenny and the staff are very mindful of when these games start clumping together, back-to-backs, 3 to 4 minutes, trying to keep guys minutes down so they don't have to miss games. So I'm sure it'll tick up some, but I just kind of thought it and they've kind of stayed with that 10-man rotation, just a little bit shorter on a couple of guys' minutes. But yeah, I mean, even tonight, Mobley and Garland led the team at 31 minutes. Was it really impressive? And that's the other thing. I was actually a little bit surprised by this, that the Cavs, it sounds terrible. I was surprised that they were only second in the NBA in point differential, because it seems like they're not just dominating by winning. They're dominating each individual game. It seems like every single game is a double-digit blowout with 25-point blowouts sprinkled in every few games. And so their point differential right now is 11.6 a game, just behind the Thunder for the best point differential. But I mean, that's for people on here that are football fans, hopefully not Browns fans, with the way that's gone, even though I'm sure a lot of you are. The Kansas City Chiefs have the best record in the NFL this year, but I think everybody agree they haven't been the most dominant team. They've kind of found a way to win more than they've dominated games. This Cavs team isn't finding ways to win. They're just dominating games from the outset. And it's so impressive to be the high level consistency is just off the charts for this team. I mean, it's as good as just about any team I've seen in the last several years, since the peak Golden State teams, maybe 6 or 7 years ago.
This team has a lot of those vibes, and we talked about this when they played Golden State in November. Steve Kerr really compared this current Cavaliers team to when he took over from Mark Jackson with Golden State, just having that young core that came together and were ready to kind of take the next step. I'm not saying this team's going to go win the title, but I'm also not saying they're not at this point, because I feel like it's certainly on the table. I mean, you can't deny it at this point. But with what's going on with this team, it's just kind of been so magnetic, and they're so fun to watch. That they really like playing together. The continuity is terrific. You mentioned earlier the fact that they've really gotten away from this my turn, your turn kind of thing. I think Garland and Mitchell had a tendency to get into that last year.
Yeah, I agreed.
And I think they've really the way that those two have found a way to really play together, because it's like the tandems, right? It's like you always kind of you talk about Mitchell and Garland together, and you talk about Allen and Mobley together. And those two just kind of have learned how to complement each other so well. Everyone always counts them out because of their size, but I don't know. Do you look at the schedule and see those two and go, all right, I feel good that I'm playing these two because they're both 6'2" and under?
It's a great point, and I'm glad you said it twice because the best word is together. They all played on the same team last year. They all were super talented, but it was a little bit your turn, my turn, not knowing how to play off of one another and complementing one another,
right?
And kind of just it's a feel thing. Basketball is such a feel sport, right? And this year totally different. This team is so in sync. It's amazing. I'm shocked every time they have a turnover because they move the ball so beautifully and share it, and they like pass up good shots for great shots all the time. They do the very NBA thing of like being at the rim and kicking out for a three, which drives me nuts still. But otherwise, it really is. If you like modern, 2024, 2025 basketball, this Cavs team is as good as it gets.
Yeah, for sure. So only 11 turnovers tonight, which my time being around Sean Miller for a couple of years, he just all the time talked about if you have 11 or less, you're more than likely going to win your games. And they kind of always stuck with me, and I always appreciated. I know we got to get to the Golden State game. We've did it like 4 or 5 times. But Donovan Mitchell tonight, just overall, just another unbelievable game. 33, 5 and 6, 6 of 12 and 3. Just, we've said the things already. All NBA, check. All-Star, check. Should be in the MVP conversation. I think that's a check. Just another awesome performance. And a game where, like you mentioned, he was so good in the first half, and Evan Mobley took over the third quarter that he could kind of take a little bit of a breather from being scorching hot in the first half. So, just such a fun player to watch when he gets on these rolls.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, he is the consummate. It depends on what is your idea of MVP. If your idea of MVP is best stats, he's not going to win. He has great stats, but he doesn't have the best, right? It depends how much you count in leadership, cohesive, like, helping, drive cohesiveness on a team, because we give Kenny Atkinson all kinds of credit justifiably, but the players have to buy into it. And
absolutely,
Donovan Mitchell's the alpha dog on this team. It's like if he has to buy in and preach it probably even more than Kenny Atkinson to get everyone else to buy in. And it's very obvious that he's doing that. Now you can just tell how he is carrying himself, how he celebrates other people's successes. I mean, he is turning into as unselfish of a superstar as there is in the NBA.
Yeah, and we've talked about it a million times. Just his defensive effort and how much it's stepped up this year has been really awesome to see. So I'm glad he's on our team, man. Yeah. I'm glad that we get to watch this guy play basketball every night because it's super fun.
You and me both. All right. Well, we should talk a little bit about the upcoming schedule, most notably Golden State. So the Cavs started a West Coast swing tonight. And we talked about this about a week and a half ago, that this Cavs team, just, you were saying check. They keep hitting check marks and hitting every single one, because we talked a few weeks ago coming out of the break from the NBA Cup. Like, you got 3 games at home, Bucks, Sixers, and Jazz. Can you win all 3 of those, right? They won all 3. Because you have this difficult West Coast trip coming up. Now we say, can you go 4-2 on the 6? Because we understand it's hard to travel that much, to play really good teams, to play back-to-backs when you're on the road and you're playing a game, then you're getting immediately on an airplane, and then before you know it, you're playing another game. Can you go 4-2? Now they've won the first on this trip, and the Mavericks aren't going to have Luka when they play him next week. And so
the Lakers might not have Davis.
Now you start thinking, like, are we just going to do another win streak? I mean, well, we are doing. This is what, 6 in a row, I think?
6 in a row, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe we should stop putting ceilings on this Cavs team. And I was guilty of it too. So like,
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more, man.
Let's just sit back and enjoy it and not say like, I hope they accomplish this. I'm like, I'm just going to sit back and see what they can do from now on and not try and put expectations or limitations on it.
Yeah, I think the thing that really jumps out the most when you talk about, we know, you've kind of referenced it a little bit, but to kind of dig deeper into the point is, you look at all these teams they're playing on this West Coast stretch. So Denver tonight, they need Nikola Jokic to win just about every game for them.
Mm-hmm.
They go to Golden State on Monday, who, I mean, almost had one Christmas Day. That game was incredible, but they need Steph Curry to win them games. I mean, Buddy Hield has become almost unplayable from how good he was to start the year. You look at the Lakers, obviously we know what that is. It's, especially, we don't know what's going to go happen with Davis. He says he's going to play against the Kings on Saturday. But we've seen these before many times from Anthony Davis, where he says I'm fine and he just doesn't play. So it's like, okay, I need LeBron to go win me this game. Though they are playing really well of late. I think we 1,000% have to reference that before we get to that game on New Year's Eve. And then Dallas, it's okay. They need Kyrie. Where the difference is, my point I'm making is, all these teams look at one guy to win them these games each and every night. Where Cleveland, the thing that's really been so beautiful about this team, and the thing the biggest point, the point we're making about this team on a night-to-night basis is, Donovan Mitchell can have a night like the second half tonight, and you guys can still win big games because he just doesn't do as much. Where all those other teams, it's you focus on one guy and have everyone else beat you.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the Lakers are a little less that rule, maybe a little more the exception to the rule there, because Austin Reeves has been really good of late.
Mm-hmm.
But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. And I wanted to, before we go, let's hone in on this Golden State game. I mean, Golden State, they played earlier in the year. Cavs dominated them. I remember that was a really fun game.
83 points in the first half.
Yeah, that was right as the win streak to start the season was coming real. I want to say it was like the 8th win or something around there, right? And so I think the Warriors now are the closest reflection of the Cavs team, just not as good, right?
I agree.
Like it's totally kind of wild to say. Like, they're kind of similar teams. They're trying to build their teams in a similar way, but the Cavs are just much better. Golden State's an incredibly difficult place to play. You're playing against the greatest shooter in NBA history. He could just have a night. But this is a game like the Cavs should win, or like I would say have a great opportunity to win. They're the better team. And if they can fight through, the traveling, any fatigue. Mitchell did turn his ankle tonight. He continued in the game, but hopefully that's not something where it swells up afterward and, has to manage that. But I think the Golden State game, it's one of the teams I just look forward to the Cavs playing, because I think you said it earlier, Cavs are modeled after those Golden State teams like a few years back. And I think it'd be a fun matchup. I expect close to as many points as there was tonight.
Yeah, I'm genuinely curious when they're getting to San Francisco, because they have they don't play till Monday.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they're going to go ahead and get in there to leave tonight, and then just kind of get it going. But hey, look who's joining us here.
Well,
hey, pal.
Hey, sorry guys. Hey, sorry about that.
It's all good, man. It's all good. We're just getting ready to talk the Warriors game. So
perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, they've just had this big drop off, man. Like you said, Cav, they kind of got really hot to start the year, and then they've really kind of come back down to earth. They are a rumored Jimmy Butler team. I don't think he really makes a lot of sense for what they want to do right now. I do love them getting Dennis Schroeder. I know we've talked about that already, but I don't necessarily feel like I look at this team and think like that I'm going to be too worried about Cleveland going there, especially with, you mentioned the Mitchell thing. They're off for 3 nights. So, you can get to San Francisco Saturday morning and just chill and just kind of rest and have a shoot around on Sunday. And have a practice on Sunday, shoot around on Monday, and be ready to go.
Well, yeah. And one common theme between Denver tonight and then Golden State on Monday, neither team has rim protection, right?
Nope,
so
none.
So we could see a lot more of those beautiful, Garland floaters, the Mitchell move. it's not like I've never seen a guy do it. I've never seen a guy do it exactly like this, where he's coming down the right side into the lane, and then like does the jump stop where he brings the ball like over the defender's head and then shoots like a floater off the wrong foot. It's
He's awesome, man.
It's unreal. It's like beautiful and awkward at the same time, and yeah, I could expect to see a lot more of that and to continue taking advantage, being aggressive against when you're going up against these teams that like frankly can't protect the paint.
Yeah, I want to say real quick before we get Skylar's take on that game as well. So I know Kevin and I joked a lot about NBA player podcasts and how we're 50-50 on them. Draymond Green's is not one I'm really in love with by any means, but I do really like. There was after they played Cleveland earlier in the year, Draymond and Baron Davis, who Baron Davis is his co-host, which is incredibly cool. I do think that's neat. They were talking a lot about the Cavs, and they kind of said like, yeah, I still think the Celtics are better, but oh my God, this Cavs team. And Draymond said the same thing we've been saying a million times now. It's like, it reminds me of us when we came together. And so I thought that was pretty cool that, the things we're saying, everyone else is starting to say too.
Dude, I'm glad you brought this up because I almost forgot. And because I wanted to throw this out, do you all know that Georges Niang has a podcast?
Yes.
And nope. He has a podcast called The Bench Seat with the Grill guy, who of social media fame, has a very funny account. I'm not a big follow content creator person, but he's one that I find very funny. And it is about the most random podcast in basketball that I've run into, and it fits because Georges Niang is a completely random player.
Yes,
and so, but shout out the Bench Seat and Georges Niang, Cavs fans. If you are like me, I cover the Cavs with these guys and didn't know Georges Niang had a podcast, so give him a listen. He's actually really, really insightful to listen to.
I just love that him and Tristan Thompson share a post-game talk segment every game. We don't get to watch it that much because we do this show, but the clips that him and Tristan Thompson create just doing their post-game interviews together is so funny, so good. You can just tell that the chemistry of this team is very much glue. everyone's working together, everyone's just having fun, honestly.
Yeah. We couldn't agree more. I mean, I know we've talked about that, but it's, and I don't want it to come out the wrong way, but it is kind of it's unusual for an NBA team to have this kind of cohesiveness and energy and everything like that. NBA is a grind, and there's a lot of teams where a lot of games they're just trying to get through it and stack wins and take it a more business-like approach. And the Cavs certainly do the business part, but they do the fun part too, as Skylar said. And it just makes for just an incredibly fun team to follow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a blast, man.
Yeah, for sure. So with that, we can wrap up some scheduling notes. We're going to get back to doing NBA Weekly next week. I actually think we're going to drop that one on Monday. We're going to have a ton of content next week because they have Golden State on Monday, Lakers on Tuesday, and those games are super late. And so we've made the group decision to actually do the podcast the next morning for those couple.
We're dads.
Yes, we're dads. It's the Lakers game is on New Year's Eve at 9 p.m.
So stupid.
Yeah,
so stupid.
It's dumb. So slightly different. We'll still get to all the content, just slightly different delivery for the next week or so. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up in another amazing victory from the Cavs tonight. Before I go, I actually want to say one thing. I saw an old friend today who is a huge Cleveland Cavaliers fan, Dr. Jordan Tassi. he got to work with him. We worked together years back and got to see him for the first time in a while. And having not seen him in a while, he caught wind of the podcast and told me he'd been, checking us out and really enjoying it. And so wanted to shout out JT and say it was really good to see you and glad that you're a fan. So with that, we'll wrap up. For Skylar Webker, for Tim Daniel, I am Kevin Lynch. Thanks for tuning in.
Go Cavs.